there was other stuff on the table this morning.
Oh, did you watch Ted Lasso?
Oh, of course I did.
Oh, thank God.
I did.
Yeah, man, I mean, I don't know who hasn't. We don't want to run spoilers out there, but
no.
Thoughts on it?
Yeah. The series season finale. All right. Well, let's bring Niko into the conversation. Niko Moreno is here at his old time slot. Early morning, first cup of coffee. How tall is the cup of coffee, Niko?
It was a 20 ounce. Now it is completely gone, and I'm going to be out here just no cup in hand.
Wow. Are you a Ted Lasso guy?
Yes, I am a Ted Lasso guy.
Have you seen the series finale?
Yes.
All right. So Jarrett is wondering what folks are thinking about the series finale. What did you think? Were you a sobbing mess like the rest of us?
Slightly emotional. I'm not sure if, sobbing would be the correct word, but, it was emotional. It was a nice roller coaster. I have to give credit to, the ending. It did a good job in that final episode to, kind of bring you up to high emotional levels. You kind of thought that Ted was going to stay for a little bit. You didn't know if he really was. Maybe he was going to change his mind, right? So I thought it was great. The soccer game in general was pretty cool. I love that they used the set piece strategy that they had, kind of used a while back in the beginning of the show with the lifting of the arms. I'm right here. So I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it.
All right, Jarrett, what did you think about the series finale? So did he disappear on me?
No, I'm here.
Okay, so what'd you think? No spoilers. Okay,
no, we're not going to spoil it, you heathens.
No, but it's no spoilers.
Oh, oops.
Oh, you're fine.
No spoilers. Yeah, so
first of all, we on the East Coast are mad at Apple for pushing that thing back to 9 p.m. Pacific time. A bunch of watch parties got screwed up by that one, but I liked it. I'm fine if they just stop the whole thing there. It is an absolutely huge intellectual property at this point.
Oh my God!
They might decide to keep going in a different way with it, but it checked all the boxes.
Yeah,
and you don't. And I like that you don't have to literally spell every single thing out to check the boxes and to get everything across the line. But I enjoyed it, and I think y'all will too. If you're leaving right now to go watch it, that's fine. Will, whatever.
If I just ruined it, I'm sorry.
Rocket,
no.
Nah, you're good.
No.
Will, whatever high propulsion rocket you are building in the middle of Huntsville, possibly for that stadium, it can wait an hour and a half.
It can. All right. So the reason we bring Niko in on Thursdays is to discuss the week that was, and really it was last night that was. So we had last night. We've got the weekend coming up. And what we do for those that have not been watching Thursdays with Niko in 2023 is we have a game where the only thing missing is the long, slender Price is Right microphone. And we call it red light, yellow light, green light. And what we do with Niko is what team has the hood up, the engine drop, transmissions out all over the place? Who's got the red light for Niko? Yellow light can go one of two directions. It can be a team that is transforming itself from red light to green light, and they're kind of hanging out in the intersection trying to figure out what they need to do. Or it can be the other way. Team that was a green light heading toward a red light, and there it's like you better go to the mechanic and get your car fixed. Or basically, and then once again, green light is a team that is just blowing everybody out of the water. But the one condition that we have is that if you name the same team in back-to-back weeks, you've got to come up with a different reason for having them in that particular slot. So in this go-round of red light, yellow light, green light, where would you like to start, Niko?
How about we start with the red light team today?
All right. So who's your red light for this week?
All right. So red light's going to be interesting because they are coming from a win, and we are not going to beat the other dead horse that we've kind of talked about in the past, with a team that continues to have some soap opera issues, and now friends turning on friends, it seems, in Toronto. But we're going to go with the LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
And that being because, look, it's very easy to just get a win and think that all is well, that Klein is out, and now everything's going to just change. But if you look at this RSL game, I continue to see a lot of the same things we've seen all season from these teams defensively. I thought that RSL could have very easily equalized that game. There's still struggles offensively. There was a couple of moments where, yes, fantastic shots mid-range and just things were going LA Galaxy's way for once, but it's only their third win of the season. They're still tied for 26 goals, most conceded in the Western Conference. They have the worst goal differential. So none of that has changed. And now we have a Douglas Costa situation that might be legal. He's already been like a zero, right, for this squad, a non-influential DP and just a big hole in your salary. But at the end of the day, you have a little bit of hope. Is he going to come back? He's going to do something, at least to drag out some defenders and, do a little something for this team. Now that's gone. There's no light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to the summer window. Javier Hernandez gets sent off last game, and there just seems to be no leadership, a big charade. Cáceres has been bad. Defensively in general, the team has struggled. So I just believe that this team is not off the red light group just because of one win. And I do believe that they're going to continue to struggle and they're going to stay at that basement. Even if Greg Vanney was to leave and other changes were to be made, I just think that the LA Galaxy season in a very competitive Western Conference is just not going to be enough to get into the playoffs.
Jarrett, give me a red light.
Oh, God. I didn't think you were going to ask me, Jesus. I have to pick somebody other than LAFC.
No, you could just pick a different reason.
Or LA Galaxy, excuse me. LAFC's not a red light.
Well, after being down 2-0 early last night, they could have been a red light.
Hey, man, LAFC's not a red light. LAFC just, skipped through. If you ever watched MXC back in the day, in the old days of Spike TV, where, you had to run across the stones that kept, sinking and not smash your face. Yep. That's LAFC. They got across last night. They smashed their face once or twice, but it could have been a lot worse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it's the Galaxy for a red light because it's even. And you started the healing process with Chris Klein gone. The catch is you have to make a good hire after that. It is a multi-part process. Getting rid of the person who you think is responsible for everything is only part one.
Yep.
If you screw up this next hire, it doesn't get you, this alone does not get you out of jail. You actually have to get the next hires correct.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's a new GM bounce.
Yeah,
I guess this is what you would call it, but
that'd be a first.
Yeah, man, it would be.
Niko, who's your yellow light this week?
All right. So, I could go East Coast with the New York Red Bulls teams that I've started to really like what they're doing. They're solid defensively. They just were able to grind out a win at Fort Lauderdale. But because I'm your West Coast guy, I'm going to give you a very yellow team. They're as yellow as it gets. It is the Whitecaps.
Okay.
The Vancouver Whitecaps have been upgraded to the yellow on my end. They're as yellow as it goes, right? They've won 3 of their last 6. They've had some really good performances, some really bad ones. Yesterday, they scored in 15 seconds, fastest goal in franchise history. Things go their way. But then you see a little bit of the bad. You see Brown, I don't know what he was doing, trying to dive for the ball when he could have been a very easy clearance. There's, I think, issues with the goalkeeper. I think that the midfield has been good. I think Cubas, former Talleres, former Boca Juniors, has been very solid just distributing the ball, regardless of who's in front of him, right? Gold, Vite, sometimes Caicedo. He finds lanes, finds people in between spaces. But again, this is another team that we still don't really know what we're going to get out of them. And I really do believe that they're running on pure energy and opportunistic situations. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, I still need to see more from this Vancouver team in general. I mean, there's talent, right? There's potential. Sergio Cordova coming off the bench, Caicedo coming off the bench. I mean, it seems like they're starting to kind of get some momentum, and you could see where this could be a team that right now they're eighth, right, in the Western Conference. Maybe they stay around those positions to get a ticket to the playoffs, and then from there on, anything can happen.
Jarrett, who's your yellow light this week? And remember, you can go in either direction, red toward green or green toward red.
I'm going to take Sporting Kansas City going towards a green light. Tentatively, it's nothing set in stone with Sporting Kansas City, but my God, it's better than early in the season where after 4 weeks at one point, they had more red cards than they did goals scored. It was as bad as you could possibly have written the start to a season. They get the win against Dallas last night. Excuse me. They've started stringing together better performances. Not all of them are wins. Had some losses. You have whatever the hell that was against St. Louis, but Pierre Verme needs to stabilize the ship. It's not righted, but you ain't a red light anymore. Moving in the right direction. And you know what? You're not Inter Miami.
Oh God, yeah. So should we just go ahead, Niko, and say that that's your red light?
Inter Miami?
Yeah.
I mean, that I think the Galaxy is still in worse position. Look, Inter Miami, yes, they are not looking good. There's dysfunction. I still think that the Joseph Martinez thing was interesting, but you kind of knew that you didn't know what you were going to get out of it. But there's potential there at least. I mean, Leandro Campana is a very good scorer when healthy. I do like this new center back pairings that Phil Neville has today. Obviously, the midfield is struggling with all the injuries that happened, but there's a little light at the end of the tunnel, right? There's a summer window that's coming up. You got Chris Henderson with all his connections, all his wisdom, and he's going to be able to go ahead and get somebody, whether it's Messi or whoever it is that they're looking to get, right? I mean, it could be Bernardeschi for all we know, but it's at the end of the day, anytime that you have a Chris Henderson, you have some money, and you have the possibility to bring guys in, I still tend to, have a little hope for them. Right now, yep, they're probably red at the moment, but you at least see the possibility for a little orange, a little yellow. They've had some performances in which they generate a lot of the transition. And, if it's not Phil Neville just tinkering way too much with things or injuries coming to this squad, but they're up there. I still have them a little higher than the LA Galaxy.
Then who's your green light this week?
Green light's an interesting one, right? Because all arrows point to Cincinnati, right? I mean, this is a team that has 7 straight wins in all competitions. They seem to do it all right. All stars all over the field. Barral with a beautiful free kick yesterday just adds on to a phenomenal season for him. Lucho Acosta on his birthday puts one away, top right corner. Just as a team that's very solid. Mosquera, I think, has been phenomenal. He has my vote for defender, best 11 for the MLS All-Star game alongside Yemar Gomez Andrade. So this is a very good team. However, I am going to go with Nashville. I think Nashville proved that even without Zimmerman, that identity that I talk about all the time, and a Gary Smith that just, we've talked about it, right? He's a coach, and this is a franchise that maybe could get a little bit further up, but just this game against a very good Columbus team, and Hani Mukhtar just disrespectful all game long, including that last goal where he kind of just waits on the defender, then puts him on skates, then puts it away. I mean, this is a team that, again,
he murdered Aiden Morris. It was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it was just so good in general what they were able to do in transition moments. You got so many experienced guys in McCarthy and Godoy and, Mukhtar himself, and then Zimmerman when he comes back. It's just a really good balanced roster. And the fact that they were able to beat a team like Columbus without a guy like Zimmerman was huge to me. And now, obviously, they don't have a midweek game. They come in rested for this weekend. So they're my green team just to get away from the easy layup, which would be Cincinnati.
Jared, who's your green light this week?
Well, I'm gonna go with Cincinnati because Niko, I have a vendetta against Nashville. I don't like them. It's almost personal at this point. The rivalry is real. Also, I like teams that like the ball more personally, but Gary Smith has ingrained that identity.
Jared, you've got a problem with teams that don't like the ball.
All right, Gary, go away. The thing, man, they answered to your point though about Nashville. They answered my question this year was who was going to score goals. They've been getting it from different places, and Jacob Schaffelberg's a damn revelation and the perfect fit for that team late in games when you need somebody to run with Hani Mukhtar, who's the best player in this league on the counter. But man, I'm gonna take Cincinnati, even though it's kind of the layup answer, just because I kept waiting for them to kind of, I don't know, stabilize in a negative direction and pick up some more draws, but they just kind of keep getting jobs done. Last night they did it against a yellow light candidate in New York City that's just kind of been floating on along here, and the ballast doesn't seem to know how to retain or drop water, and Cincinnati just keeps getting the job done. And you moved out Brenner, who was your most expensive signing, who was supposed to be your centerpiece, and you have not missed a beat. You have somehow been better than what you did last year. It is an inconceivable 2-year turnaround in Cincinnati.
It is.
I agree.
It is. Absolutely, it is. It's inconceivable.
And they're 8 points above any team for the Shield. So, man, I mean that's a really, really good stat for a team that, like you said, has been able to get away from a guy like Brenner and hasn't lost a beat.
Folks have been asking since this is a welcome return to your old time slot. There's a team in the Eastern Conference right now that's 5th. They are a win out of getting into the top 4, hanging around with Philadelphia. Had a crazy one last night. Right now, they're 5th in the East. What do you make of what you've seen from Atlanta United so far this season?
Wow, there you go. That's what I think. That's exactly what I think. My whole computer fell over here, but
it fell apart at the very end.
It fell apart at the very end. No, I think it's shaky, unstable. It could fall anytime, just like that computer just did. That's what I see out of Atlanta. I really do not like how easy it is for this Atlanta team to start off with the wrong foot, and it's self-inflicted wounds, and it's inability to track runners, and it's Gusan just taking bad decisions coming up the back, or Purata coming at the back, or Abraham walking at the back. It seems like all season long, whether it was in Open Cup where they got eliminated, whether it was in MLS, regardless of the players that are in that back line, there's just issues. That midfield's been really soft defensively, something that I never thought I would see from a Gonzalo Pineda team that just relies on having those guys that are going to not just regain the ball and track it back, but also distribute it, hold it. I was not happy with that New England Revolution game. Yes, it's fantastic you're able to get back at it, but once again, you're relying on individual performances, right? You're relying on a fantastic move by Gigi to kind of put something away. Then Almada just taking on his ability to just move away from the ball, creates his own space, and then put one away. So it just seems like they're just so reliant. The lack of collectiveness when it comes to staying in games, controlling the tempo, controlling the pace, and being able to really make things easy for you is what I see from this Atlanta team. So I just want to see more consistency from them because they have enough to do so. So long story short, they're a very yellow team as well because you just don't know where you might see from them week in, week out. And sometimes it's so bad that just like yesterday, you go down so early, so easy. And yes, you have the guns, you have the talent to just get back into games, but that's not what Gonzalo wants to do. I guarantee you that. And that's not what makes a championship team. You don't want to go toe to toe Mexican boxing style, Morales against Marquez in the middle of the ring, just exchanging blows. That's not what you want to do. You want to be able to really control the game, and that's what Atlanta has not been able to do.
Four Card asks you, do you have faith in Gonzalo Pineda as the manager for Atlanta United?
100%. I do. I absolutely do. I think that things are going to get figured out. At times, it just seems like maybe is the guys that you're rolling with, right? Because Purata is one of those guys that, yes, there was a Gonzalo guy that you brought in, but what he does great offensively and what he does great at times defensively, it just all goes away with moments of insecure play and inability to read the runners coming in. And so I really do think that this is a personnel issue. It is something that Gonzalo Pineda, as a newer head coach, is going to have to understand how at times you can plan something and then the lack of execution is going to have to change. So, yes, I think that he's not just enough of a strategist, but I think he's more than willing to understand that there's things that he needs to get better at. And one of those things is just realizing what it is that players need to execute his plan better. So I have all the confidence in the world that he's going to figure it out with this team and in general for the future.
Jarrett, go for it with Niko Moreno.
Yeah, I mean, So let me ask about the team close to you, because a lot of times I'm not able to stay up late to see the results. But what's going on in Seattle? I mean, it's a team that we are always expecting to just, I don't know, it almost feels like they can flip a switch and stabilize things. And it doesn't matter if it's in the past it's been playing the kids at times, mixing things up, finding a way. Like what's just not clicking for them right now?
I just think that there's been missing pieces.
Okay.
There are certain players that are fundamental and crucial to teams that have a style of play, that have a very profound and deep ingrinded way of either creating offensive movements, defending with the active defending that happens here in Seattle. The 4-2-3-1 can really be difficult to maintain when you don't have certain pieces, especially out wide, that can press adequately the way the team did earlier this season. When you're able to understand that if you're in attack and now you are playing more like a 3-5-2 where you need to be, you have inconsistent players like Leo Chu that maybe they give you 3 or 4 great opportunities, but then there's also 5 or 6 miscues. You saw that last night. So it's just been the rotating factor, right? So these teams only had their best starting 11 one time this season. Christian Roldan has been out. Jordan Morris now out. Ovid Vargas has been with the U20 national team. There's been Nuhu that had malaria. So there's been just so many missing pieces. Raul Ruiz has barely played this season. So to your point, I think that maybe you're starting to see that there is a need for a generational change, because those pillars that made you a team that could turn it on, turn it off at any moment, and you can go from being a mid-table team to a Champions League winner, CONCACAF Champions League winner, are those pillars. It is the Nikos, it is the Rauls, and those are players that right now, they're not just at the end of their contract, but they're starting to maybe lose a step. So I do believe that this team has enough, especially this year. I think Raul yesterday got into excellent positions. He was rusty. That's obvious. He hasn't played since April, I believe, at Portland. That's a lot of games that you missed. That's 7 games, MLS wise, 9 all competitions. And he got into great positions. He just wasn't able to be that killer, that monster in front of goal. But that's going to get assorted. Christian Roldan will be back this Saturday. That is the huge part of what you do in general as a Sounders team. So I just believe that it has been the rotating changes, and all that's going to get squared away here when those players start to come back.
I know that we have one game that I want to talk to you about coming up this weekend because it's the only game that matters up there in the Northwest. But we do have we need you to put your Garth Lagerwey hat on for the next question.
All right.
Katie Weaver, where do you think Garth's head is at with the Almada transfer value and the possibility, or is there a comparable situation with any player in the Seattle area that was as transformative as Thiago Almada was that was sold outbound? So what do you think? Where do you think Garth's head is at when it comes to Thiago Almada's transfer value and the possibility of a transfer? And is there a comparable situation with any Sounders player that you've covered in the past in the Seattle era?
That's a fantastic question. Let's start with the easier one, which is where Garth's head is at in terms of that transfer. Garth Lagerwey is a winner. He wants to make sure that he's not just selling Thiago and getting a big chunk of money. He's thinking, hey, I'm still fifth in the East. I have a team that relies consistently in this player. So where is the balance and the pros and cons of me selling a player that probably obviously wants to go, that is going to get me a record transfer fee? And where is that going to leave me as a club, right? Because if I don't have a guy that's going to come in and do Thiago Almada's things, then I'm going to be in a terrible position. I'm going to be thinking maybe about next season. And that's not Garth Lagerwey's way. Yes, he's a planner for the future. He's a guy thinking 5 years ahead, but he wants to win now, especially with this team. So I do believe that he's thinking about potentially trying to keep the player, and I'm not sure if it would be something in the lines of into next season, we're going to go ahead and give him out, or we're going to just find a way to just keep him this season. Because Garth Lagerwey is someone that wants to make immediate impact. You've heard and seen the interviews that he's done so far with Atlanta United. I don't see him being someone that's just going to take the money and run, take the money and leave the team struggling. And he understands how difficult it is to adapt to the league. That's something that he did here in Seattle for many, many years. He wanted to create a group that was going to stay together. So I think in this particular season, he's thinking about maybe trying to keep him, unless it's an undeniable offer that you just have to take, right? It's just going to be something that's going to be unreal. And maybe he definitely has somebody in mind to come in and do those things, but I guarantee you that he's thinking, I have no insurances that X player is going to come in and give me this sort of productivity with this Atlanta team.
And then a question from Kefsi, how is Gonzalo Pineda when it comes to inverted wingers? Does he like that? Does he like inverted wingers?
Yes, he does like inverted wingers, and you've seen it this season. He likes to give sometimes the ability of a player that's going to cut inside and take shots, right? Especially when maybe there isn't a solidified 9. So maybe with Gigi, he's going to want to have more of a natural right-footed winger and left winger. But if a guy like Gigi's not there, maybe it's Miguel Berry or anybody else, where there's going to be opportunities that those are going to be able to be interchangeable. Then he's going to do that. He did it here, obviously, with Jordan Morris. He was an inverted winger at the top of Garth Lagerwey reign and success, right? He's the guy playing on the left side, but that he's clearly a righty player. He's gotten better over the years with the left foot, but he was an inverted winger. So the easy one is yes. The other question that you guys had, is there any player that can be compared to the Thiago Almada? No, there just isn't. Seattle is not a team that is known for bringing in young foreign players, not just South American, but in general, to sell them, right? That's just not the way things were put together here in the Pacific Northwest. And if there's something that I think Garth does well is adapting to certain philosophies of the club. And in that mindset, there's no player that had any sort of potential or value of a Thiago Almada.
One more question before you go, and thanks again for coming back in your original time slot. It feels like old times having you in here with the first cup of coffee.
Yeah, we might have to start it up again. Yeah,
we ain't going nowhere, brother. So if you wanna come back on 10:30s on Thursday, like always, since it's the off season for school, you are welcome in at any time. You want to come back at 10:30 Eastern.
all right.
We always like to preview the weekend ahead, but there's one game, one game that I think engulfs the entire Cascadia region this weekend. And you might know this one because it's happened a couple times, and there are two teams that really don't like each other. 4:30 Saturday afternoon, 1:30 Pacific time. Portland and Seattle, Cascadia, again. Seattle is a minus 169 in the juice boxes. Your draw in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal, is a plus 315, and Portland is a plus 426. What say you, Niko Moreno?
Tough game, obviously, not just because of what it means to the Seattle Sounders coming in from a frustrating loss in a game that you had an XG of almost 3 and you weren't able to put one goal in. They completely dominated the pace of game. They were all over a San Jose team that, with Luchi Gonzalez at hand, just understands and knows how to read moments, and they frustrated the team. There was also a little bit of rust, a little bit of unlucky moments, and what I've been saying this whole time, which is that last pass, those last moments just have not been as precise. Into this game, Portland's had the number of the Seattle Sounders for ever since Gio Tavares took over that team. In the last 3 games, they've outscored Seattle 9 goals to 2. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's unreal. That is just a crazy number for a team that has the ability to, I don't know, raise the roof for those games. But that's been the issue. Brian Smith, the last time they lost at Portland, a game that they were winning early, a game that at the time I blamed Brian for getting a little too greedy, went for that second goal instead of locking it down. Asprilla does a bicycle kick, and it's all history from there. So if there's something that Seattle hasn't been able to do, is come to this game with that mentality of this is the Clásico. We're going to have to be different. We're going to have to be chippy and physical, and we're going to make it grindy and nasty. I think part of that, and that's just my opinion and something that Brian completely denied, is the fact that Seattle has been globally successful for the past 6 years, and Portland hasn't. So I don't know if at times Seattle just didn't feel like they needed to come into this game with a certain type of mentality, but Portland certainly does. And Portland wants to make sure that they rub it in your face. And last time when you hung up that banner with the CCL championship and all of that, they made you look silly. So Brian barely talked about it yesterday. We tried to get a little bit of something about it. He said, it's not about me thinking that this game is big. It's about them. It's about the players. They need to make sure that they come in and realize that this is a do or die, regardless of where we are, regardless of what's going on. So this is going to be a tough game because of what's going on both ends, injuries on both sides, inconsistencies on both sides. Regardless of Seattle being top of the West, I think this is going to be a draw. That's going to be my theory onto this game. I think that whether it's a 1-1, a 0-0, this game is going to end up in a draw, and that's going to be a big thing for Seattle because they've been unable to even tickle this Portland team over the past few seasons.
At a plus 315, that is where Niko's head lies at 4:30 Eastern time Saturday afternoon on Cascadia. Portland visiting Seattle. What's going on at Soccer Bar and Pulso Sports?
Soccer Bar, Pulso Sports. We just had a fantastic interview with Miguel Traujo after yesterday's game. We talked to him about, obviously, the win in Seattle, but also his visit from Juan Reynoso, Peruvian national team coach, what's ahead for him as a potential call-up in the friendlies that are coming up against, I believe, Japan and Korea. So that's a real good one. We're going to have that up here by this afternoon. Soccer Bar today at 1 p.m. West, so Pacific time. So check that out. It's going to be a good one. We're going to talk about everything that happened midweek. We're going to talk about, obviously, LAFC. What are their chances? And we're going to have a really, really good interview with Christian Espinoza that also talked to us last night. Obviously, having a almost MVP season, great, fantastic player for San Jose. So really, really a couple of good things on both Soccer Bar and Pulso Sports.
El Rolo at El Rolo NW, at Sports Pulso, at the Soccer Bar. Niko, it's great to have you back on Thursday morning, my friend. Go get that second cup of coffee, and we will catch up with you next time.
Sounds good, boss. Thank you, guys.